Well, hi there, Internet. My name's Court, and you've got courtside seats for my review of The Stand, Episode 6, The Vigil. Let's do it. So welcome back to my ongoing review series of The Stand on CBS All Access. If you've been watching my reviews so far, you know that I've been mostly enjoying the series. I haven't been loving it. The first episodes really kind of frustrated me with the lack of the Captain Trips plague. Like, they really didn't get into it as much as I would have liked. And the non-linear storytelling and flashbacks were kind of driving me crazy. But I do think the show has been on an upswing in the last couple of episodes. It seems to me at this point we're done with the plague and, by proxy, the flashbacks. And with the plague being my favorite part of the book, I do feel like it's a shame we didn't get more of it, but at this point, I've made my peace with it, and I kind of feel like the show is stronger for it now in these later episodes. I think they're doing a really solid job with the Boulder stuff and the Vegas stuff, and I'm happy to say this is the first episode of this series that I've absolutely loved. I had a couple problems with it, which we'll get to, but overall, I thoroughly enjoyed it. But now, as per usual, the regular caveat. Like all my reviews in this series, this one will be a spoilers review. I won't cover the entire episode beat for beat, but there are specific things that I want to discuss. So if you haven't seen the episode yet and you want to go in cold, go watch it. Hopefully you'll come back later, but this is officially your spoiler warning. Cool? Cool. Moving on. So this episode opens with our introduction to the Trashcan Man, played by Ezra Miller. Yeah, they've excised a huge part of his story, and I think at this point we can all put to rest the questions about whether or not the kid is going to show up in this series. And they really did rush his story from our introduction to him showing up in Vegas in like the next scene. But you know what? It kind of worked for me. As far as Miller himself, I'm unsure so far. I liked the look, the burnt scar tissue, the physicality. I liked all of that quite a bit. But I don't know about his performance itself. It's very different from how I ever pictured the character. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I will say that my initial reaction to his performance was that it was a little bit caricature-esque, if you will. But I feel like I'm gonna need to see more of the performance before I have a good idea of how I feel about it. I will say I liked that wheezing thing he was doing. And then him meeting Flagg in the desert, Flagg dressed in the black hooded robe. That was creepy, that was badass, I liked it. And I loved the tete-a-tete between Flagg and Mother Abigail in the forest. I'm always a sucker for a conversation between an unstoppable force and an immovable object. My favorite scene in The Dark Knight is the interrogation scene. And Flagg saying, "My name is Legion, for we are many," that gave me chills. And Clifton Collins Jr. showing up as Bobby Terry, that was a nice surprise. I always liked that guy. And I dug Flagg like smelling the corpse of Judge Ferris. It makes sense because we often see him personified as a wolf. Not personified, that doesn't make sense, but wolfonified, whatever, you know what I mean. But I liked the whole scene. It was very tense. I appreciated Flagg referring to Judge Ferris as a bag of bones. Nice little Stephen King Easter egg there. And I love how Flagg kind of manipulates Bobby Terry into sort of painting himself into a corner in the conversation. That was great. I did think when we first see the elevator coming down, I thought the amount of blood in the elevator was a little bit excessive for a beating, but then I realized it wasn't a beating, it was an eating, so that worked. Having said that, when Flagg drops the body onto the elevator floor, it looks terrible. I actually had to scrub back to check and see if it looked as bad as I thought it did, and it did. Madame Tussauds Clifton Collins Jr., ladies and gentlemen. I will say I didn't love the scene in the forest between Stu and Harold. Maybe it's because I knew that Harold wasn't going to kill him, and therefore maybe for people who haven't read the book, the scene would have worked a lot better for them. I don't know. But to me, it just felt rather unnecessary, other than Stu apologizing to Harold about the Franny thing. But I didn't think we needed that either, because this whole time it's been very clear that Stu feels bad about it and tries to act accordingly around Harold. That said, the scene with Franny and Harold in his basement, one of the highlights of the entire series for me, at least so far. I like the way they're kind of playing him as an incel with his manifesto. It feels like under other circumstances, this could be a guy who would shoot up a school. It's terrifying. I've been kind of mixed on Odessa Young in this series. I thought she was great in this scene. And I said in my very first video for the first episode, I wasn't sure about Owen Teague. I have very much warmed to him over the course of the series, but this scene was easily the best work he's done in the show. I thought he crushed it. And that shot where he and Franny are on either sides of the locked door and the camera sees both as though the camera's like in the door jamb. Really cool shot. I kind of felt like the scene between Larry and Nadine was a bit of a throwaway, but there were a couple of important moments in there. Nadine telling Larry that he's a good man. This is something he's needed somebody to tell him this entire time. But particularly Joe telling Larry, which Joe speaking alone is important, it's momentous, but him telling Larry that Nadine and Mommy Nadine are two different people, very effective. Very creepy, very simple. I liked it. And then I just thought this was funny. Nadine and Joe walk out the front door. It's pouring rain. She's got an umbrella. She's not even covering Joe. What a jerk. Now, of course, the episode ends with the explosion that kills Nick and some others, and I did feel like the whole finding Mother Abigail, that's when the pacing really ramped up, got very tense. I liked it. That said, though, my one big issue with this episode was I did find the pacing overall was pretty slow, and maybe that's because I knew what we were building towards, but that's how I felt. I also thought that Lou Reed's Perfect Day was an excellent needle drop to end the show. So yeah, I loved this episode aside from a couple little things. If this series continues in what I consider to be an upward trajectory, I think we're in for a pretty awesome finale. So those are my thoughts on The Stand episode 6, The Vigil. Now I want to know, what did you guys think about the episode? Do you have a favorite episode in this series so far? Whatever your thoughts, hit the comments below. Let's discuss. If you enjoyed this review, please smash that like button and give it a share if you really enjoyed it. And hey, why not take a second, do me a favor, click subscribe and ring that bell to subscribe to my channel for more movie reviews, entertainment news, trailer reactions, The Stand, all that good stuff. Hope you guys are all safe and healthy. Thanks very much for watching. I will see you all in the next one. Take care.